It's time we dive into how Expendables 4 sets the stage for Expendables 5, who's still on the team, and why we think the director who launched Jason Statham's career could be just the right choice to rescue this $840 million franchise. Here's everything we know about the next installment. Let's start off with why we think that Jason Statham might just be the ideal person to turn around the fortunes of the Expendables franchise. Known as one of Hollywood's most dependable action stars, Statham's career went from comedic British gangster roles to serious action with films like The Transporter, which cemented his place as a leading action hero. While he's been a huge draw for movies like The Meg and Fast and Furious, the Expendables series is in a different boat. The fourth film faced harsh reviews and only made back around half of its production costs. If there's any chance of this franchise bouncing back, it'll need a fresh approach. One possible game changer? Guy Ritchie. He's the director who cast Statham in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels back in 1998, a movie that kicked off Statham's career. Ritchie and Statham went on to make more hits together, with films like Snatch and Wrath of Man, showing that they have a creative sync that really works. Ritchie has proven he's got the chops for handling big action films with ensemble casts, and he'd bring something unique to a potential Expendables 5. His movies always carry a strong sense of style, even if they don't all hit big with critics, and he knows how to deliver memorable action and punchy dialogue, two things Expendables 4 lacked. Over the years, the Expendables has leaned heavily on nostalgia for 80s and 90s action films, but it hasn't created iconic scenes or one-liners that stand out. The fourth movie failed on multiple fronts. The story felt stale, the CGI was subpar, and the action lacked originality. Even though Expendables 4 positioned Statham as the new lead, the film didn't live up to his commitment or ability as a star. What should have been a grand return after 9 years was ultimately underwhelming. For a successful reboot, The Expendables needs more than just a familiar cast. It needs a vision that respects the original script but brings something new. If Ritchie doesn't jump on board, there are other action veterans like John Woo or Michael Bay who could bring a fresh perspective. There's even talk of a possible TV series to continue the story if a movie sequel feels too risky. Whatever happens, The Expendables still has brand value and appeal even after this latest misstep. Should another sequel get greenlit, it would benefit from a stripped-down, mission-based storyline that sticks closer to the gritty roots Sylvester Stallone initially envisioned. Ritchie's eye for practical effects and strong character dynamics could be just what this aging franchise needs to find its feet again. Whether or not Ritchie or any director from that era wants to take on this challenge remains up in the air. But with Statham's continued success, The Expendables may have just enough fight left for one last shot at redemption. The Expendables 4 ending has plenty of twists and reveals, opening the door for a potential fifth movie with some major story implications. For starters, this fourth movie shifts its focus primarily to Jason Statham's character, Lee Christmas, while Stallone's Barney Ross takes a back seat, only to surprise us all with his death and return later on. The plot of The Expendables 4 centers on the team's mission to stop Ramat, played by Iko Uwais, from detonating a nuclear bomb that could trigger World War III. Ramat kills Barney early on, and Christmas is booted from the team following this loss. The core of the movie unfolds on an aircraft carrier holding the nuclear bomb, where Gina leads the Expendables into action, only for them to end up trapped, waiting for Christmas to save them. As Christmas fights his way through the ship, we learn more about Ocelot, a shadowy villain Barney tried to expose 25 years ago. This reveal ties into the film's main threads, giving fans an explanation about Barney's death, exposing Ocelot's true identity, and in turn, paving the way for future stories. The big twist is that Barney Ross's death was all an elaborate trick. Though viewers may be skeptical given the suspicious timing of his death early in the movie, it's staged convincingly. We see the team's plane crash, seemingly with Barney on board, and the camera even zooms in on a charred body wearing his signature ring. But in the end, Barney returns to save Christmas and takes down Ocelot himself. The movie explains his fake death in a fun and somewhat absurd way. In a conversation with Christmas, Barney reveals that he substituted a guy named Jumbo Shrimp, who had won his ring in a thumb wrestling match at the beginning of the movie as his double. Barney, it turns out, kidnapped Jumbo Shrimp, suited him up in Expendables gear, and put him on the plane, escaping via parachute right before the crash to stay off the grid and make his death believable. With Barney back and the revelation of Ocelot's true identity, The Expendables 4 sets up a potential fifth film with more personal stakes and possibly a new story direction. Lee Christmas has taken on more leadership, hinting that he might lead the Expendables team going forward, but Barney's return adds layers to where the franchise could go next. This ending leaves the Expendables in a place where they could regroup with new and old members to tackle a new threat, especially if Stallone's Barney hands over the reins while staying close for big moments. In short, the Expendables 4 ending provides some interesting setups and clears the path for the franchise to continue. If there's a fifth film, it'll need to build on these twists with fresh storylines and keep the focus on what makes the Expendables fun: intense action, big personalities, and a sense of adventure that balances the old-school action vibe with modern high-stakes missions. The Expendables 4 delivers a series of big reveals, particularly surrounding the true identity of Ocelot and the motivations behind his sinister plans. The movie finally unearths the truth. CIA agent Marsh, played by Andy Garcia, who was once Barney's ally, is actually Ocelot. Marsh masterminded the mission to eliminate Ramat, not out of patriotic duty, but as a ploy to frame the Expendables and trigger World War III, believing that the conflict would inevitably benefit those with power. Marsh's backstory adds an intriguing layer. 25 years ago, a mission to reveal Ocelot's identity went south, and everyone except Barney died, setting the stage for Marsh's double life. Now posing as Ocelot, Marsh intended to detonate a nuclear bomb in Russia, framing the US and profiting from the ensuing chaos. The tension peaks when Christmas decides to sacrifice himself by staying aboard the aircraft carrier to divert it away from Russia. Following in Barney's perceived footsteps, he's ready to die until Barney reappears just in time, saving both Christmas and stopping Marsh. This plot twist leaves Christmas's character primed for a leadership role if The Expendables 5 is greenlit. Meanwhile, Ramat, Iko Uwais' villain, is wounded in a brutal showdown with Christmas but ultimately escapes the scene just before the carrier is sunk. His fate, though ambiguous, is likely grim unless a potential Expendables 5 decides otherwise. There's an air of mystery surrounding Barney's fake death plan, as Gina is hinted to be the only one who might have known the truth. As the movie wraps up, the team returns to celebrate with Barney alive and Gina and Christmas's relationship re-established, hinting at a future for the franchise. If The Expendables 5 happens, there's a strong foundation for its lineup. Barney could continue in a leadership role, with Christmas taking charge on the field. Returning members like Toll Road and Gunner, along with newcomers Easy Day, Galen, Lash, and potentially Daka, could join the ranks. With the doors open for fresh additions or the return of past characters, The Expendables could continue its formula of intense missions, mystery, and the classic high-octane team dynamic. Megan Fox's character Gina is also well-placed for a female Expendables spin-off. With this ending, the future of the Expendables franchise depends heavily on the box office success of this fourth film, but the setup is clear for the Expendables 5 to dive into new missions, personal stakes, and expanded character arcs. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Your suggestions for future videos are always welcome in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop.